Casual Magic has been sponsored by Quiver, maker of the Quiver and Bolt deck cases and other fine deck holding accessories. Use the code CASUAL on their website for 10% off your order. We're also sponsored by Architect, the premier site for hosting your decks on the internet. I love them and they love me, and it seems like a good reason for you to use them. You can also support Casual Magic directly by going to our Patreon at patreon.com/ShivamB. And now, on with the show. Hello and welcome to Casual Magic, the show where we talk about the fun side of Magic the Gathering. My name is Shivam, Bhatt, and Casual Magic is brought to you by Architect and Quiver, and by you, the supporters of my Patreon, patreon.com/ShivamB. And yeah, it's really great. Today, I am very excited to have one of my good friends, one of the kids I've adopted from the MagicCon circuit, my boy TronIsBad, who we will say right up front is lying in the screen name. We both know Tron is good. And indeed, I love Tron as much as he does.
Absolutely.
My boy Ryan, who is a content creator, streamer type, vintage and legacy, and I don't know, Eternals expert. And
wouldn't say expert, but definitely.
Well, let's just say specialist, not expert.
Yeah, sure. There you go.
But also another fellow friend of mine in the working on ourselves to be less broken inside types.
Oh yeah.
Like
definitely a fan of therapy over here.
You know what, man? I've started actual therapy and not just like self-medication and meditation.
Yeah.
And my therapist straight up told me, he's like, you seem like somebody who is afraid of like afraid of commitment and afraid of not commitment, but of debt, like afraid of getting wrecked. And so his prescription to me was I need to pick up Dark Souls.
Oh, wow.
He's
gosh.
Yeah, he's like, you are a gamer and you're also terrified of playing games where you're not fully in control and where you die all the time. You need to get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, you need to play games like what is it? What was that one game that came out? I want to say a year and a half ago. Sekiro, that one.
Yeah, Sekiro is basically a Dark Souls game. They're all the same goddamn game.
Aren't we actually just like living through a Dark Souls game?
Yeah, I don't need to. I don't need Grimdark. I can look outside for that. Yeah, but it's wild because like when I met you the first time was at a Command Fest.
It was in
Command Fest Richmond.
It was Richmond. It was in Virginia. Yep.
Yeah, it was like one of the first Command Fest after we got out of the lockdown. Mm-hmm. And I remember I sat down with you, and I don't even remember how, because I was at that table. We were with random folks who I guess knew me, and we sit down, and I pull out my Nira deck, and you're just, you're all like, you didn't even look like. You're not even a commander player, right? Like,
no. Listen, I have three commander decks. I have Joda the Unifier, which was built for me as a Christmas present years ago. Shout out Useless Knowledge, John. Absolutely incredible human. Built that for me, and that's what got me back into Commanders. Just like my friend went out of his way just to build me a deck for a format that he knows that I don't play, and that kind of like got me into it. So I have Joda the Unifier, which kind of just like symbolizes like friendship, right? So you're just playing everything.
Sure.
And then I have two decks that I've been working with. It's Black-White Astarion, so it's just like drain and gain the table. And then I also have Torwalkie the Younger, which is big pings. And that's
I do love Torwalkie Younger.
And that's all I have. And I'm not really... No, like not really.
No, you were just randomly at that table at that con.
Yeah, I was. Matt called me over. And was just like, hey, sit down at the pod. We're going to play some Magic. We'll wait for a fourth. I think we're going to have Shivam join with us. And like, obviously, no disrespect whatsoever. I have no idea. I have no idea who you are. I don't know that you have a channel. I don't know that you're a part of the commander committee. Nothing. You're just some dude playing Magic. And I sat down and I thought what you were doing was great. And we didn't even connect over Magic.
No, go ahead.
We connected with a lunchbox that you had with you, and it's a Serial Experiments Lain lunchbox. and I saw that and my eyes lit up because I love Lane, and I
Lane
love that.
is like, I've disavowed almost all of my anime and weeb history except for Lane. Lane is like my perfect anime. It's my favorite anime. It
It was only
is
13 episodes.
yeah, but they packed a lot. I mean, to be
Yeah,
fair, like the last 2 episodes or something got into weirdo conspiracy theory.
of course, of
It's kind of
course.
bizarre, but it doesn't matter. The point
Yeah,
is, though, I like became pen pals with the creator Chiaki Konaka back in
that's
2000
wild.
because that was back when you could just email people and they would just
That's
answer.
true. That's true. That's true.
And like, the artist went on to draw some of my favorite other mangas, like Haibana Renmei, which is this
Hmm.
crazy angels and like discovering your identity and
Hmm.
all this amazing stuff. It's such a wonderful show. And but yeah, Lane is like, it's this, it's such a right at the cusp of 2000 era anime of like, what is the internet going to do to us? Like,
What is
how
the
are we
internet?
going to lose into
It just follows this girl who is so connected to this thing called the Wired, right?
mm-hmm.
And it's just like it's showing you what potentially could happen if you are just too invested. And it's like it just gets very psychological.
And it gets very, very real.
Yes.
Like, what
Very
about
much so.
cyberbullying? What about like driving
Hmm.
your friend to suicide anonymously?
Yep.
And it turns out to have been very prescient because
Oh yeah.
we live in a messed up world based on
Oh
the
yeah.
Wired. And let me tell you, Lane's get up, like that mega computer that she'd wired into,
Hmm. Hmm.
we're living it right now.
Oh, absolutely. That's what you and I are doing right now.
Right? Like, look at all these
Yeah.
cameras,
Yeah.
multiple monitors, a
Mhm.
whole shebang.
Dude, it's funny because like I was joking with my partner May earlier, and I had so what she wanted for our new office, she has the two monitors, but because she started streaming as well, she wanted a third monitor. She wanted one to go vertical, so she could just use that for the chat. She was gifted a third monitor from her best friend, and I there it is. That's we didn't connect over magic. We connected over a lunchbox. It was great. Um, but yeah, she got a third monitor, and she has her entire like command center set up. And I was laughing with her before. I said, if you stand side by side, if you look at both of our sides of the office, you have your three computers, and then I have my one display, my second display, and then I had my iPad set up. And I was like, that's my third display. It was funny. But yeah, it's just like an
Yeah,
episode of being wired.
yeah, and it's wild because like, and like, I don't want to harp too much on this lunchbox, but like this lunchbox I basically carry to any con. If you've ever seen me in person, I always carry it with me. It's got my dice in it, my life counters, and all this stuff. I used to carry my decks in there, but they get banged around, and I stopped doing that.
Yeah.
But this, I've had this Lane lunchbox for like 25 years or something.
Yeah.
Bought it at a comic store, and it's weird to me because every time I look at it, I'm just like, look at who we have become as a society.
Hmm.
Like, we look at this, like this, when this anime came out, it was a cautionary tale, and now it's just like quaint how like, worried they are about literally this world that we inhabit as streamers, as people who have given our mental health to this black box that we talk
Oh,
into.
absolutely. And it's like you think of what Lane was in the past, and you said Lane was this cautionary tale of what can happen, right?
Mm,
And now in the year 2024, especially in 2023, I saw like on the internet a very big resurgence of Lane's popularity, because like people that were really getting into anime during lockdown
mm.
started like really deep diving, and like you saw all the greats, like for example Yu Yu Hakusho,
Yu Yu
literally wearing
Hakusho,
Yu Yu
Evangelion,
Hakusho.
people bring back
Evangelion,
Yamato,
everything, Tenchi Muyo,
JoJo,
like yeah,
yeah, Tenchi
everything,
Muyo. God damn.
yeah, everything. And Lane was one of them, and I saw a lot of people online. They were really harping on the fact that they're like, wow, Lane was kind of just like telling the future, or like
Mm-hmm.
it's crazy how this anime from what was it 1998, right? I
Mm-hmm.
believe had such a had hit the nail on the head, like to the T of
Right.
the way that people act, especially psychologically and socially and parasocially, interpersonal relationships, like everything because of the internet.
It's wild because, like, if you look at, for instance, the Matrix and Lane as like what it was like for pre 9/11 internet, and then the surveillance state we live in now, and it's like, damn, they had it. So yeah, if you guys want to have 13 episodes of the most mind breaking, psychologically damaging, what
And
have I
one of the
done with
best
my life
animated
internet
series you'll ever
of
watch.
all time,
Yeah.
yeah, Lane, seriously. And like I got so into it that I played the PlayStation game entirely through in
Oh, Serial
Japanese.
Experiments.
Yeah. And
Yep.
then like I mean, I was down the rabbit hole. I have all the soundtracks. Blah, blah. Love Lane. Lane's awesome. But
Yeah.
that was the thing. The thing is, like, when I saw you, and we had a great time because that was the day my Near deck just popped off and completely went supernova,
Oh yeah,
ruined everybody's
destroyed the
life.
table.
It was so amazing. But the thing was that, like, with you especially, I found like I had a connection not only just through Lane, but I was just like, this guy's got a good spirit, and like I
Appreciate
don't
that.
know what it was because like I'm a very open guy and I'm very like, warm and I like to make friends and stuff. But with you especially, I was like, I've never seen you before. I don't know you from Adam in this, but I have taken a shine to you, and so now I'm going to do what I can to help you out in this community that we're in.
I appreciate
And
that.
like, I don't know, I don't even know if it came off as patronizing or not, but I was just like, man, this kid's cool, and I don't want you to waste your like, I don't know, I don't want you to buff it.
Yeah,
Like,
and
the spike feeders gave me these dice. They're
there
gigantic.
I have tweeted at the spike feeder so many times saying like how badly I just have to buy those dice.
Yeah.
I love those dice. Those are so cool. I want the big green cactus ones.
Yeah, they gave
Yeah,
me like literally the
those
whole
ones.
color.
They're
The
so
problem is
nice.
that these are incredibly loud and fidgety, and as a person who fidgets a lot, that's a really bad thing to fidget
Oh,
with.
see, for me, so my desk fidget, and now this is getting into what we as creators have at our desks. I have a deck of 60 basic lands
Mm.
that I just shuffle that are just sleeved, and then I also have poker chips
Oh, smart.
I cut checks all day. So I cut
Yeah,
checks and
Diana,
that's it.
of the lady who handles like all these content creators and stuff, gave me this awesome pin that
It's
is
a
a
D20. Yeah,
D20.
it's amazing.
Like she straight up just took it off her vest and gave it to me at the first time we met, and it has been my desk fidget ever since. I love this thing.
I love that.
But what I was trying to say though is that like I felt a connection with you because you're a very open, honest, and genuine person, and you're very like you don't sugarcoat things, but also you don't like you're not mean about it. You know what I'm saying?
I try really hard not to especially be mean about it because I know exactly what you mean, and for a long time and like transparently like I'm not I'm not the person that I was like 5 years ago. You know what I mean? I've learned a lot, and I didn't always used to be like this, but it took a lot of learning and it took a lot of like growing and wanting to change the way that I had an impact on the world. And it's like, especially among friendships and people that I've never met before.
yeah, you like
I'm trying to be
when we
softer.
exactly like when we first met up, you were definitely a little bit more on the pop off side of things, and I'm like, we need you to pop less, pop
Yeah.
less.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it turns out like over time, like as I got to know you, it's like, and especially through like our mutual friend Hobbs, who invited both of us to come
Love
onto a panel
Hobbs.
at I think Vegas or
Yeah,
whatever it was.
we were at Vegas last year. It was Yumi, Hobbs, and Chase. Yep.
Yeah, and literally that was one of the roughest days of like the most recent year for me, just in terms of
Absolutely.
like we had Sheldon's memorial, we
Hmm.
had this
And that was
panel
right
that
after
went.
our panel.
Yeah, our panel. First off, I was doing 4 panels that year, and that's the dumbest thing, and I'm never doing that again. But it was wild because like we had this incredibly heavy mental health panel about the impact of playing Magic on our lives and how positive or negative it's been, and honestly, how more negative than positive sometimes it feels like. And then we go right from there, where I'm already in an emotionally super raw state because I didn't know what we were expecting. Hobbs didn't give me any kind of heads up there. We had words
Yep.
afterwards, but it got real vulnerable. And then I go right into Sheldon's memorial right in the middle of the con hall, and I'm like, oh, I am just a dead man walking. This is not this is not going to be me at my brightest.
Right.
But what I heard, the thing though that and the reason I wanted to talk to you is because you especially have had a real rough journey with Magic, at least coming from where you were to now. And honestly, sitting here with me as a content creator, as an ambassador, is probably a hugely triumphant like victory. Honestly, given where you
I appreciate that a lot.
came from, man.
Yeah. I mean, like you
And I
said,
don't want you to like rerun your life all over again.
no,
But
absolutely not. I can definitely give a synopsis because, like,
yeah,
obviously, people that are listening to this, they have no idea who I am. Like,
sure, exactly.
and
Yeah,
that's fine.
I
So
don't expect
I,
everybody's going to listen to your
yeah.
amazing Humans of Magic interview.
Hey, shout out James. James is incredible.
You know what?
I
I
loved
could
that.
not ask for a better rival than James.
James is such a character, and
He's so good at
he's
this.
great.
God damn. He
He's
makes me
so good
feel
at
he
interviewing.
makes me feel bad about being an interviewer.
No, you two, in my opinion, you two are very different, but at the same time, you are like the titans of what you do. So it's like you're inspirational within yourself. Like, one of the things, before I go into like my story, there's something that you said while we were in our panel that kind of like resonated with me and showed me the kind of workhorse that you are. You had never missed an episode of your own podcast.
Mm.
And that's wild. Like, to take no time off from doing this. That's crazy.
It is one of the things that I continually look at as something that I didn't think I'd ever be able to do, because I have bad ADHD. I have an inability to follow through. I have an inability to stick with projects. I get bored, or I get tired, or I lose interest, or I lose self confidence. And I'm like, oh, I'm not good enough to do this anymore. And I can't. And yet, once I've turned this into my, like, this is now a thing that I'm not going to give up on. And this kind of just, even on the bad weeks, even on the crappy, like, no, this thing is coming out every Tuesday, hell or high water. My editor could leave me. I don't care. I've still got to do the thing. Something's going to come out. And I've done this show is the short of my marriage, which is now going on. Like, I've been with my wife for almost 25 years now.
Congratulations.
Like, I mean, we were also dated for like 8 of those years. So it's not like all marriage, but it's like we've been together for almost 25 years.
Right.
But it's next to that, and like my 10 years of my last job, this is the thing I have been able to do the most consistently and just never miss. I missed one episode, and that was during like, because riots were happening.
Right.
But I was just sitting there thinking about like, there's something in you, there's a fire in you. Even when you think you can't do something, once you make it part of your pattern, once you make it part of your habit, then you can do it. You take the next step, you take the next step, you take the next step. Because if you stop, you're never going to start again. Like, my wife and I have this thing where it's like, oh, we're exhausted, we're tired. But if we don't empty the car now, we are literally never going to empty the car.
100%.
Or if we don't empty the dishwasher, or we don't handle this mundane chore, once you stop moving and lose that inertia, it's over.
Absolutely. Yeah.
This is like, Josh and Jimmy gave me this advice, which was show up. Mm-hmm. Show up every week. Even if you don't want to, even if you've got nothing in the tank, show up. Something will appear. You will create something. But if you stop, that is the end. You can't. Like, you gotta, like, and I had a conversation with Serge of Loading Ready Run. He's a dude who does Minecraft streaming daily, and he does like Loading Ready Run Magic stuff. And I was talking to him about it, and he was telling me about how he went and took a vacation, and how he was so terrified of taking that vacation because he was like, if I stop, are people going to come back? Is my daily streaming do I lose this momentum? What happened about this community? I'm like, if you've built your community correctly, they will come back. Yes, we live in an era where everybody's flighty and there's a million things you could be doing and watching and seeing. Yeah. But if you've cultivated the right people, they will come back. And because if you don't take care of yourself, then you will burn out. And what are they going to come back to? Nothing.
That's kind of where I'm at right now, actually. And it's like, this is all one giant circle back to your initial question, but that's kind of like where I'm at right now. Is I had a conversation. I had a conversation with someone a while back regarding content creation and regarding the fact that I have legitimately only been doing this since last February. And to be where I am right now within this community is very humbling. I've done a lot already, but I'm at the point where I have realized, like, hey, I still need to take care of me, or else I'm gonna burn out very fast, and then my ride is gonna be way over before it even began. And that's where Better Days MTG came in. That's where
Right.
everything that I'm
I
doing with
forgot about
Hops.
that.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry. That was the thing. Yeah,
that's
the
totally
reason that
fine.
Ryan is important and cool, and the reason I want to talk to him is the fact that there's this hashtag called Better Days MTG. That was one of the reasons I actually picked up on you being my friend. Is like because you used to do these videos where you just had a coffee and you're like, "Yo,"
Yep.
I remember when we met, you were like, "Hey man, I do this thing. I just put up this little video every day and say I have my daily coffee. You have your daily coffee, and we just sit and celebrate being here."
Yep. hmm And that's, like I said, that's kind of where I am right now. And to the point that Sarge had said, will there be people when I get back? And I've noticed that I used to do the Better Days MTG videos literally every single day.
Hmm.
And now it's gotten to the point where I'm realizing that if I talk about something every single day, I'm going to actually propel myself into a pool of like me hyper focusing on something that maybe I shouldn't be focusing on in that moment, rather than giving myself a little pat on the back or
Hmm.
giving myself like that little break. So now videos are like every other day, and sometimes every other day. But
Hmm.
that's okay. And that's the entire context of what Better Days MTG is. So if I am developing these focuses, and if I am developing the tools to be able to make myself a better me, or taking the advice and the words of wisdom from my incredible partner who has legitimately just been there for me through everything already, and I'm able to implement this in my daily life, when I come back and I make that other Better Days MTG video, there's going to be people, and there have been people that have messaged me many times saying like how important Better Days is to them, and I never saw that happening. It was just me talking through my stuff because I felt like I had no one to talk to, so I used the front facing camera of my phone as kind of just like my void. So in doing so, like creating kind of just like this community of making sure that people and Magic players, because Better Days has become more than just Magic players.
Hmm.
It's for anyone. It is just making sure that us as Magic players and us as a community have a space to be able to talk about the things that are important to us, whether it be something in the game or something about the game that pertains to our outside life. And that's what I hope to achieve, is just making sure that everyone feels comfortable enough to be able to talk about the things that are important to them, which also ties into where I came from. And to answer your question, my kind of like journey in a little summary, because if you want to know, I actually humble self promotion. I self published an article a couple nights ago, just on Twitter, because I had nowhere else to put it. So I just put it out there. Got some good feedback on it, so I was pretty happy about it. But my journey started in 2010, where I just went to a card store one day. Not one day, but it was a card store that my friends had been going to. And my first game of Magic that ever happened was my friend Phil, and rest his soul, Phil is no longer with us. But my friend Phil at the time told me to pick up this deck, and it was a Golem Precon deck because Scars of Mirrodin was out, and he was teaching me how to play. And then he goes, turn one, Grindstone. I'm like, okay, I don't know what that does.
Oh no. Oh
Yeah,
no.
I don't know what that does. It's fine.
No.
Next turn happens. He goes, okay, because I'm playing golems, right? I have a fully colorless deck. Well, it was splash white because there was like the artificers in it. But I go like play something pass, and then he goes, all right, I'll play Painter Servant. Your deck is now cherry apple green. And I was just like, okay, I still have no idea what you're saying to me. This is gibberish. And he goes, okay, I'll take my next turn. And I'm like, okay. So I'm just sitting there happy with my 3/3 golems with first strike. And then he goes, I'm going to activate Grindstone. I'm going to target your library. and you're going to take the top 2 cards of your library and you're going to put them into the grave. And if they share a color, which your deck is now candy apple green, you're going to repeat the process. So he goes, take your deck and go like that. I'm like, okay, sure. And he goes, welcome to Magic, welcome to Legacy. And I fell in love. And that was my first game of Magic. That was my first game of Magic that ever happened.
Getting someone with Painter Stone,
Painter Stone Grindstone combo, like,
that is not okay.
it was okay in my book because it taught me what you could do in Magic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I was hooked immediately.
Servant Grindstone is such a good combo.
Yep. Hooked to the point of where for years I chased the dream of going to the Pro Tour, of being this successful, accomplished player, this accoladed player, which for a long time, like, it never happened. It still hasn't gotten to the point of where I'm playing at the most competitive step, but I'm trying to get there still. But that's what battered me down. And because every weekend in my teenage years to early 20s, I was going to every single event. I was going to every Grand Prix that I could. Rest in peace, Grand Prix. Bring them back, please. Thank you. Going to every single Grand Prix and just performing horribly and not doing what I think that I could have done well. And I just didn't understand why. So it was just like, it was making me depressed because I was doing well at locals all of the time, 3-0ing Friday Night Magic.
Mm-hmm.
There came a point, actually, do you remember when the From the Vault boxes were like a really big thing? Those were the secret layers.
I do, yes.
And do you remember From the Vault 20 when Jace the Mind Sculptor got reprinted?
You know, I have a story about From the Vault 20.
Okay.
I went to PAX in that year, and I was so excited for From the Vault 20 that I slept outside of PAX to get up in the morning to get in to be one of the first in line to get it. They had like 8 at the booth. I was number 10.
Oh, no.
I ran as fast as I could. I got there. They had one, like, you know, they get up, they give it to the person, they give it to the person. Like, there's a whole number of people. Some people start leaving the line and don't take theirs, or they get something else. And I'm like, all right. And the dude's like, got one more, and he's handing it to me. And the lady with a cane kind of hobbles up and's like,
oh, no,
that one's reserved for me. And I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah, mobility users who can't, you know, move. And I'm like, but like the dude put it in my hand. She had my cash. Like, I had one hand with cash out, one hand with the thing. We were literally in the exchange.
Oh,
and it got yanked back. And then I got instead a stupid Chandra goggles or something. And I was just so deeply bitter and like just disillusioned from that I've never stayed up for anything ever.
Oh, man.
I'm like, screw it, it's not worth it. And but later on, somebody who was in that line ahead of me read my story and sent me there. So I still have it.
Oh, that's very, very kind.
And the reason I wanted it is because the From the Vault 20 had the Findhorn Elves reprint with the brand new artwork that I loved so much that I yelled at Gavin to reprint because I wanted a non From the Vault foil because they were.
And then it came out in Commander.
And then it finally came out and I got it. Anyways, that is my From the Vault 20 story.
Or what you could have done is you could have been me, grinder at F&M Aficionado, going to this very, very nice at the time local store called Game On in Clifton, where prize support on Friday Night Magic was crazy, where it said if you win the draft, you get a From the Vault 20. So I had 5 of them. So I collected them. It was crazy, actually. In my house was a grinder house. Like, it was just it was nuts. So at the time, and this kind of just like gives you an insight of like who my friend group was, like, to really teach me how to play Magic. It was myself, a good friend of mine at the time, his name was Will. One of our roommates was Alex, and between Will, Alex, and myself, we had collected during that time frame about 12 From the Vault 20s. And then our other housemate, someone by the name of Jacob Van Lunen, was just also just playing and grinding these events. So it was just like, it was cool. And like, I learned very competitive Magic at a very early point of my journey. And that's kind of just like what set me to a path of the
self-sustainability.
Of the title that, like, I titled my article, mental competitive Magic ruined my mental health, and this is how I made it my greatest asset, because like it really was mentally deteriorating for me, showing up to all of these events, doing really, really well at locals. Then when it was my time to like really put my pants on, like it didn't work out for me. So I had to backseat it for a while. And I backseated it to the point where I started just like working at a local store, and I was just like having more fun. And then I got the competitive bug again, and I started grinding really hard, but I was more grown at this point. This was after I had moved back from the West Coast. I lived on the West Coast for about a year, but this is when I had moved back. And I said, you know what? I'm going to treat my relationship with Magic at this point a little bit differently. I'm still going to be as competitive as I can, but it's going to be with a grain of salt, and it's going to be a learning process for me. And it's that learning process that I'm still incorporating on a day to day. Right now, surprisingly, I play the least amount of Magic that I've ever played my entire life, and it is the most fun that I am currently having. And it is
It
the
turns
most.
out when you stop tying it to your well-being, you enjoy it a lot more.
And I'm doing a lot better with my events too, which is great. It's like the Mengu actually had said many incredible things on James's interview, which, by the way, everyone should listen to that one. But he said something about just he goes to the events and he still just goes to the events to have fun, and he still performs at such a high level, and I find that so inspiring, and that's exactly what I want my relationship to be with the game.
When I talked to Mengu and I had him on my show, I asked him the same question. I'm like, how do you do this? Like, you're so good at it and you're a grinder. And he's like, look, hey, if I ever fail at this, I can just fall back on being a lawyer. And I'm like, you have a law degree? What the
Yes,
hell?
man. Yeah. Mengucci can lawyer you.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, fine. But and he's like, look, when I get tired of playing one type of Magic, you know what I do? I go play a different type of Magic. I play Pauper at the store. I play Vintage. I play Old School. I play Commander. He's like, I just love Magic. And it's like, and there's never a bad Magic because there's always more Magic and different Magic. And I'm like, I told him, I'm like, you are like the ancient farmers. You're like, instead of just planting the same crop in the field year after year after year, depleting all your nutrients and then watching it die, you just rotate your crops. When one crop starts growing, you grow another one.
We just found out, you know what we just figured out? Mengu is Uncle Iroh.
100%. He's also living literally the greatest life of any Magic player you could have.
Absolutely, 100%.
Like, I'm just out in the Italian coast, living my life, eating great food, have a good family and
Mengu
girlfriend.
cuisine.
Yeah.
Love it.
My man is like one of the most level-headed and just good. I also just talked to Simon Nielsen, who is the currently the best player in Magic right now, right? Like he's like
the current
4 top 8s in a row type of thing.
Yep.
And my man is, I was like, and he's like, look, dude, I just enjoy this. And like, win or lose, I enjoy it because playing the game with my friends and doing cool things is fun. I'm like, God bless you, man. I love this.
Wait, who is the current world champion? Is it Simon?
No,
it's not. It's
Nathan.
Not. Nathan Stoyer is the current world champion. Yes, correct.
I believe. Well, yeah, because before it was Yuta, and before it was Javier. So yeah, it's Nathan.
Yes.
I follow competitive Magic, folks.
Well, I mean, like, yeah, no.
My question, though,
I'm sorry. Nathan was last year. Jean Emmanuel is the current.
You're right. Jean Emmanuel Deprat won this year.
Yes,
because Nathan's card just came out, which is why I was thinking about that.
Yes,
yeah, and of course, Jean Emmanuel won with that insane run he did.
It was like, where did the year just go?
Yeah, yeah. But if it's on Simon Nielsen this year, I'm gonna be very surprised. But we'll get to that in like the fall, I guess. But no, I actually want the question I wanted to follow up on. Like you've mentioned previously that like your trip into hyper competitive Magic took you down some real dark path, right? Like drug use into like just grinding into bad mental health mentality. And what I've been really curious about this whole time is how did you, what helped you get out of this? Because I know a lot of people who go down the trough, but it's very hard to come back up.
So a couple of different things, actually. The first being some very close friends of mine, and I'm not going to say names for the sole fact of like I think that it's something that is still to be worked on. But some of my friends from here are so heavily invested with their results that they let that affect them, and it just like I see people get into these like ruts, and I see people get into like these really just like visibly angry, almost like you can't talk to me for the next like 25 minutes until I'm done from seething from this result because I should have won that match. And I don't like that. And I didn't want my relationship to recoup in a way that I wanted to be like that. I want to have a good relationship with the game. I have a great relationship with the game right now. I'm having the most fun playing small amounts of Magic than I have. I'm playing more formats. I'm playing more Commander, and it's like I never thought that I would enjoy playing Commander. That's just being transparent. But that's how you and I became friends, right? Like it's how I've cultivated so many of the relationships that I have now. But exactly what Mengu said. There's just always more Magic to be played. So there's that little tidbit, and I know that me personally, I have a very addictive personality, and it's something that I've always dealt
Me
with in the
too.
past. I have hanging from my Elgato Air, not sponsored. I have hanging all of my sobriety coins, and it makes me really happy to like look at that and know that I said it in my interview, and I said it during our panel. My battle with addiction is the hardest game of Magic that I've ever had to play, and I will be damned if I lose this game.
Fact.
So that's what it is for me. I know that I am better than who I once was, and that's kind of just what I'm. That's kind of what just like keeps me grounded. It's me, my love for the game, my love for the relationships that I've made, and my again ever loving, supportive, incredible partner, and
Yeah.
she definitely just keeps me grounded.
I mean, it is very important to have a network that holds us up. Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to do this without my wife's support. Like, come on,
Right.
let's be real. My job situation, everybody knows, is not great, and my life
Mhm.
situation, and I get very prone for bouncy moods from happy to mega depressed and back
Mhm.
and forth. And my wife is like the tiller that keeps the ship straight.
Yeah, and
Otherwise, I would
finally,
be.
I was finally able to meet your wife. I was very happy about that.
Yeah, dude, I
That's
brought her to
very
Chicago. I'm like,
happy
I
to
need you
finally
to
meet
meet
her.
my friends. And she's
Yeah.
like, I met your friends. Now I'm not coming
Yep.
back. It's good, but
There you
now I
go.
know.
There you go.
I
Which
took my son to
you'll
MedFest.
be able to meet my wife in Vegas.
I look forward to it. It'll be
There
great.
you go. There you go.
Well, because like, every time I meet somebody who's gone through like the sober journey or like the
Mhm.
journey out of this addiction, and if you guys want to know at home, you can go back and look at episode 29 that I did with Ellie Rice, who is now at WotC, where we both talked about how our addictive personalities with Magic had basically driven us to bankruptcy and worse. And like I had to quit the game for almost 15, 20 years because I was stealing money to play Magic. It's like I was doing horrific things,
Yeah.
or at least in terms of contextually for me, awful things to be able to fund my love for this game.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it took a lot for me to wake up and realize the pit that I was digging for myself. And some introductions to some police officers, which were like,
Oh man.
maybe this is not the pathway I need to be walking.
Oh, that
Uh,
is, you know what? That is another thing. I had a very big problem in 2015 of gambling Magic with friends and
oh God.
other stores. Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. It was a different time. That's like 10 years ago, a completely different. Listen, we are not the same person that we were
No,
2 years ago. You know what I mean?
like
It's
that.
like this is all a learning game for us.
That is one of the reasons why why people are always like, man, why are you playing these cards? They're worth so much or they're worth so little, or man, you should be selling this and that, like, oh, the whole financial thing of Magic, I don't engage with at all. Because the
Yeah.
second I put a number value to this,
Yeah.
then I'm going to walk and open that door again into very bad things,
Yeah.
right? Like suddenly it's going to become arbitrage and money and gambling and weird places that
Mhm.
my personality can't handle. So I treat this as like I buy a card when I crack a pack, or I buy a card, it goes in my collection, and it never leaves because I'm just
Mhm.
not gonna engage with that half of
Yeah,
the game. I can't.
I remember seeing your tweet a couple months ago being like you were digging through your collection. You're like, you're telling me how much unlimited soul rings are?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
have
you
so
have
many
how many?
unlimited soul rings, dude. You know what? I've got in my pauper deck beta Lana War Elves. You know how much beta Lana War Elves are?
Yes.
You know what the land in my Pauper Elves deck are?
All beta.
Euro and APAC
Oh my
lands.
god.
I was at Command Fest San Francisco the other
Oh
day,
man.
and I was just kind of digging through the piles, and my eye fell on some APAC lands over there, and I was like, I have 17 of these in this deck. Why are they all worth $40?
Yeah. That's funny. All of my so I'm drafting tomorrow night. I'm drafting a Thunder Junction at one of the local stores over here. And I'm excited to use my draft plans because I'm finally finished betaing all of them out. So now I have
my
a
draft my
place
draft
set of
lands are
beta
all
lands.
unlimited.
Yeah, nice.
Like either unlimited or portal, depending on what packet I take with me to the store.
I like the nostalgia. I like
Yeah,
how
I
they
like that
look
it says
so
tap.
good.
I
Yeah,
like that
it's
it
so
says
cool.
tap for a blue. Like not like arrow sign blue. Just no, it's got words on it. And it's funny because whenever I pull it out, like it tilts people because they're like, it's a white border. Ew, holy crap, it's unlimited. Wait, what?
Yeah.
Oh, let me tell you something about Command that happened at Command Fest. So I played in a bunch of Chaos events, and I went to the draft box to just grab random lands to shove into my deck, right? And I'm going through this, and most of the time when you go through draft lands, it's just random lands from whatever bundles were out recently. I'm digging through this, and they're literal unlimited lands in this
Uh,
box, and they're literal like pristine condition like portal lands and this and that. I'm like, what in the hell? What
yeah.
is this? Dude, whose closet did you loot to
That's
bring this
wild.
here? It's so unexpected. But I'm sitting here and I'm like, I've got like revised planes and like just like,
The revised lands are nice.
yeah. But I was like really weirded out that they were just
There.
in the draft box, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
oh,
I mean,
I
like,
guess I'm just gonna take these now.
there you go. Thank you for the new place at a draft
so
land.
so to drag it back a step, obviously you must have found the bottom at some point. And how do you continue to play Magic in a healthy way? How did you break yourself of this habit of this grinder mindset?
Well, so I think I bottomed out at the end of the first year of COVID. And I feel
Mm.
like that was also a lot of times pretty a lot of people's bottom of their barrel.
Oh yeah, I was fully addicted to playing a game called Final Fantasy Brave Exvius on the phone.
Yeah.
It's a Final Fantasy based gachapon game, and
Yeah.
I was getting to the point of spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month on that game.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then once lockdown happened, I was starting to get a little bored of the game too. But I was looking at that and I'm like, oh, if I'm sitting at home and I've got nothing to do, and I've got this phone game that is just going to ask me for money to do
Yeah,
more pulls
you're
for
just
more
going to
garbage,
continue to do it.
I'm going to literally be sitting outside of my home.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
had to just quote cold turkey it. But like, yeah, I think lockdown gave a lot of people more introspection than they were expecting in their life.
Yeah, it's like when lockdown happened on March 16th, right? And
Hmm.
that's my birthday.
Oh no.
And I went I went to work that day on my birthday. This was when I was working for Apple. And I walked into my Apple, and my boss is sitting at one of the very big tables, and they go, "Happy birthday, Ryan. Go home. We're closed for 2 weeks." I'm
Oh
like,
no.
"Oh, okay, like this is cool, like I have a 2 week vacation, like happy birthday to me." Or so you thought. Um 2 weeks became 2 months, 2 months became 6 months, 6 months became 8 months. Um at the same time, like Apple, we were considered essential because we were considered communication. So I was working through it, but at the same time, it's like, sure, I was working, but during the time in lockdown, or
Mm.
when like we couldn't do anything, that's when it hit me that just like, how am I going to go play Magic with all these like stores being closed? What am I going to do? Like, my entire friend base really does just revolve around Magic. That I'm missing the gathering. I'm
Mm.
missing the part of the game that brought the best sides of me out. And that's when I really, really, unfortunately, fell back into my addiction. And my addiction was, warnings everywhere, was alcohol. And I became, while you were addicted to your gotcha game, I was addicted to Jameson. And
Oh
it's just
no.
like two very different things. And what didn't help is that at the time where I was living was within a 37-second walk to a liquor store,
Oh
to a
no.
gas station liquor store. Which there's only one gas station in the state of New Jersey that sells alcohol, and it is that gas station that I lived by because it was so close to the George Washington Bridge. I lived 10 minutes away from Manhattan, so they got by on New York law,
Oh
which is
no.
crazy. Yeah. So I would walk in there every single day. I would buy a pint of Jameson, and then I would buy a Four Loko, and I would chase my Jameson with Four
Oh
Loko.
no.
Yeah, it was not a good time.
No, that's not a good time.
It's not a good time at all.
That does not feel good.
There is definitely a video back in my messages somewhere of me sending to my roommate of me shotgunning a Four Loko, and it's just like not a good time. So
Oh.
that was kind of like my bottom, and my bottom of the barrel was just like realizing that I had an issue, and I moved myself home. I at one point,
Mm.
my mom was just like, "Hey, you plan on moving to Texas in a year?" Because I planned on moving to Texas. And oh, hold on, give me 1 second. Dogs, so sorry. Hi, hello.
Dogs.
So I had planned on moving, and my mom was just like, "Hey, like, why don't why don't you move home, and you can kind of just like recoup here." She didn't know the entire time me dealing with these issues.
Oh no.
So that year on New Year's Eve is when I really realized that it was bad and that I should not do this anymore, or else if I continue doing this, I will. I won't be here anymore.
Yeah.
Because I had gone through a bottle of Jameson, 12 White Claws, and then half a pint of tequila. And I woke up
At that point, your breath would light on fire.
Yeah. Definitely at some point, probably an exaggeration of numbers of sorts, but it was a lot consumed. To the point of the next day, like I didn't recollect it, and I didn't feel anything. Like I wasn't hungover or anything. So I realized that I had an issue and I needed to change things, or else I would not be here anymore. So
Yeah.
since that day, I haven't touched a drop, and I'm over 3 years
Well
completely
done.
sober at this point.
Congratulations.
And it's the best. Thank you. And it's the best decision I've ever made was to continue winning this game of Magic. We are in turns, and I will win.
It is very, very hard to have that kind of self-realization that this is bad for me. And then to take that step from this is bad to me and I know it's bad for me into I need to change my behavior or I'm going to die.
Yeah.
Like I hit that with my health when they were like, "Hey, so we took a blood test and we discovered that there's sugar that there's blood in your sugar and you should probably change that ratio or you're going to die. Maybe take a walk, buddy." And it's one thing to intellectually understand, like, oh, I need to change my diet, my habit, my sedentary nature. It's another thing to be like, now I'm doing it. Now I'm walking. Now I'm going to work this out. And it's just especially when it's something that gives you joy or even just good buzz, like stopping playing, like when I had to stop playing Magic for a long time, or when I had to like quit cold turkey, or all these other things that I have given myself to and having to pull myself out of, because it's never just one addiction. It's like one, and then you find another one and you find something else to fill that hole. And you're like, and being able to pull yourself out of that without help, or it's just it's very, very difficult.
I did it. I did a lot of it on my own, and I've had this conversation a few times with my partner of how like I wish that at that point in my life, like I did have somebody being like, "Hey, pull you back," right? But I didn't because of where I lived. I didn't because of like the crowd that I was with. And I decided to become addicted to not doing this, and that's kind of like
you know what, man, sometimes substitution is the only way out, right? Like it's hard for us to give up something entirely and meditate and focus. Like I always tell people, like, look, man, this is what the goal is. This is not the solution you're looking for. This is the
Yeah.
end goal. Like if it was easy, the Buddha wouldn't have made a whole religion out of giving everything up,
Oh
right?
yeah, absolutely.
Like sometimes we have to find whatever tricks it takes to get out of a horrible situation into just a manageable situation.
Yeah.
And like I need to snack because I got blood sugar issues, but I also just if I snack too much, then I had like during lockdown, I found myself with a friggin' food addiction or
Mhm.
like just bad like eating disorder of just because I'd be stuffing my face all the time because I had nothing else to do and I was bored and angry and this just made me feel better. And I'm like, that's not healthy either.
No,
That's not
no.
healthy either. And finding healthy behaviors is a lifelong challenge. And so whenever I see people who are taking steps, who are succeeding, who are continuing, like we said early on, every week you put out another show.
Mhm.
That's how I know that. Look, we're making it work. We're getting out of this one step at a time because it's the only way we can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I mean, and it's like finding what you said, finding healthy substitution. Sometimes substitution is just the best form of medicine in that kind of situation. Um,
Yeah, like I know
and
people who are
now,
like, yeah, man, I took up basketball instead. I'm like, great, be addicted to basketball. That's at least healthy.
yeah, and now it's like what I'm realizing a lot in my life in the current is that because of my current work schedule, the structure is kind of like out of whack. So like
Mm,
us over here, we're trying to get that schedule back because my schedule is about to change again, which will make it much more structured for us finally, and I'm very happy about that. But there's just a lot more, I guess, treating my relationship with magic in a more responsible way because I'm now no longer
mm,
only worrying about myself and like
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I have a family here, and I like having that reminder, and you know May has to bring me back in every now and then and be like, hey, you gotta just like you got
Get
a
up.
family to worry about, don't you know, and
Yeah.
I owe a lot of how I am to this, and it's probably the healthiest substitution that there is for me, and it's one that I welcome with open arms because it's like I don't like who I was when I was so addicted to the thought of just doing well,
Mm.
and that's where I am now.
That's such a wild like idea. And I realize we talked about this over the course of this time, but it's just like getting so into that grinder mindset that you need
Mhm.
to be the best, that you sacrifice everything else in your life to do it. It's like you and I both know so many pro players and even just content creators who are just grinding this in the most
Yeah,
unhealthy way possible, searching for something. Like, I mean, it's less now that GPs and stuff don't exist and that it's much harder to get onto them.
unfortunate.
Yeah, dude, I
Yeah,
love GPs.
yeah, yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, back when you could do one every week, having that really horrific lifestyle, like I've talked to a lot of grinders on here, and a lot of them have been like, yeah, man, I remember I would be renting a room and I would only be there Tuesday and through Thursday to drop off my stuff, wash my clothes, and then go to the next GP in,
I remember
Pennsatucky or whatever.
for big example. I that exactly. I remember there was a time when when I was I think I was like 22 or 23. There was Grand Prix Worcestershire, and then there
Worcester,
was
thank you. I grew up there.
sorry, yeah, Grand Prix Worcester. Oh, I'm gonna get flamed for that one.
Worcestershire's a sauce.
Worcestershire's the sauce. Oh man, I'm gonna get flamed for that. That's fine. Grand Prix Worcester. Um, and then there was also Grand Prix Baltimore, like a week and a half after that, I believe. And there was just a chain of 3 Grand Prix
Hmm.
that my traveling group didn't go home. We went from hotel to GP to travel, to hotel to GP to travel, to hotel to GP to then go home.
Oh my god.
And it was just like it was a bad idea because at the end of it, 21, 22 years old, I don't have magic money. I'm broke.
Yeah,
Like
right.
it was a
And
bad
you're
time.
sleeping on the floor of a Motel 6 with 12 other guys, and it's like, what the hell is going on
Yeah,
with my
it
life?
was a bad time. We were waking up at like, and it also just wasn't healthy because we woke up, and I remember multiple times throughout that trip specifically from when we were in Baltimore. We woke up, it's like 7 a.m, getting our deck list together. What are we doing? We're already cracking beers. It's like not.
No, yeah, you're living off of like chicken fingers and beer,
Yeah.
and like you're going grinding and playing. You're expecting to get any good results at all when your engine is running on garbage, right? Like,
Right.
and oh god, and it's so crazy. Like, especially one of the things that Commanders taught me has how to lose gracefully
Mhm.
and how to just accept that, because like when you're playing with 4 people, you're going to win 25% of the time usually. And like, so that means most of the games of Commander you play, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to teach my son this as well, which is like, look, we can't always win and we can't throw a tantrum when we lose. You just got to roll with it, because the next one you're going to win, or you won't win, and you'll figure it out and you'll move on, you'll grow. But watching like these pro players get so focused and angry while they're playing that their teeth start grinding, and then they get up when they lose and they're like, you and then they throw their cards down and just stomp away, and then like just yell at somebody for like 20 minutes about the
And
worst beat in the
that's
world. I'm like,
not
dude,
what I want to be
that
like.
stress is gonna kill
Yeah.
you, man.
Mhm.
Like, you need to, like, I met Simon Nielsen after he lost the Pro Tour, and he's just level-headed and relaxed. I'm like, this man just literally lost for first place,
Yeah.
and he's just like, it happens.
Granted,
like,
there's also a big check behind that, but it's,
Yeah, look, getting second place is not the worst thing in the
No,
world.
100%.
However,
Yeah.
you losing $30,000 or whatever from the first place would have.
Oh yeah,
It's
that's definitely substantial enough.
it's still though, like I've seen people who, like, when I look at the best pros, or they're the ones who are the most, I guess, successful, are the ones who can just absorb this, be unhappy for a few, and then relax and
You
let it
know who
just go through
my
them.
favorite my hands down favorite professional Magic player, and he's a friend of mine, Christian Calcano. Calcano is easily definitely like my favorite player that there is. Calc is not only incredibly talented, but incredibly level-headed. And one of my favorite
Yes.
things about him is every single event that we are at, or every single event that I see him at, I ask him, I'm like, hey, Calc, how you doing? And generally, like, we actually don't talk about the tournament that's going on, because I'm asking him, like, all right, what are you doing that's like surrounding the event? Because he finds things to do to enjoy wherever he is. Like when we were in where was it? Where was the last one? When we were in Chicago. Calc and I were walking out of the convention hall, and we're just like catching up, because we're both initially like from tri-state area, so there was a lot of overlap over the years of like us just going to events, and we rolled with the same crowd. But Calc was going to a basketball game, and Calc's like, yeah, man, like, event was great, but like I'm going to a basketball game. And like Calc is just always like eating good food, going to great places with friends, and truly enjoying the experience of gathering wherever that he is. And that's one of my favorite things about the fact that he's turned his profession into something not only that he is great at, but he's also great at enjoying wherever he is within the moment. And that's I think that's exactly what I want to be like.
Yeah. Calcano is a lovely guy.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
gotten to meet him a few times, and it's just like, he's such a pleasant, like, that. I think there's something Hobbs told me once, which is like, we were talking about like these kind of like attitudes and stuff you get, and some of these people you can tell have immense gratitude for where they are.
Oh, yeah.
And they're just very happy to be here, very happy to be participating in this thing. Yeah, they're very good and they're playing, and yeah, it sucks if they lose or don't make the top 8 or whatever. But at the same time, they're just like, look, man, look what I get to do with my life.
Yeah.
And
I want one of those saddlebags so bad.
It's just such a cool, it's like, that's the way I try to live mine, which is like, look, man, look at what, like, I was talking to Wheeler when we were in Chicago, and we're sitting next to each other, and people are coming to us to get things signed or whatever, and we turned to each other like, man, look at this, look at what we get to do.
Yep.
Look at what people.
Dude, I met Wheeler for the first time when we were in Chicago as well, in the lobby of my hotel, because Gene and I were sitting down playing Legacy on the floor, and Wheeler's was like, You playing Legacy? That was my jam. So we met then. Wheeler's really cool.
He is undoubtedly one of my best friends right now. He's just
Yeah.
such an incredibly good person. Man, I'm just like, I just am so proud of you. Like, just to watch you grow and to watch you like progress, and like, because I've, in the years that we've known each other, I've just seen you change, and I've seen your attitude change. I've seen your direction to your own self-worth and your mental health, your family, and all of these things. And I just watch you just kind of like become such, every time I see you, you're a happier person. And like, that is all we can ask for in this life, is like becoming more satisfied with ourselves. You know, like,
and I remember a few times you've had to get into my DMs and be like, hey, this is not worth being upset about. And I appreciate that. Every single time that you have reached out to me, I've said, hey, you don't have to continue to interact. You don't have to interact with the negativity. You can just wash it away. You will thank yourself for it in the morning.
You will.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like, I've been on the internet for so long, right? Like, I've been on the internet. I got on the internet in 1992, before it was an internet, back when it was a BBC, and I had a phone thing that I had to connect to my 1200
I remember
baud
AOL.
Yeah, no, AOL, man. I'm talking about dialing into BBSs that were in the back of the newspaper.
Wow.
Like, literally, there were cups on the phone, on the computer, that I had to jam a phone into. But yeah, like, I've been on the internet for so long that I can see when people are starting to get into that, like, it's like a tower defense game. You're in the tower and the waves of enemies are coming, and you're going to be, instead of just like chilling and letting the wave pass you, you're starting to engage. And once you engage, you lose.
Yeah.
Because like, you can shoot down one bogey, there's 40 more of them, and you have to go through the whole passage to convince them to not be jerks to you again. And I learned this with Gamergate, especially, was that like, when you're fighting the anonymous flood, you're not going to win, because you're fighting against individuals. They're fighting against you.
Yeah.
Right. Like, you can't stop a wave by throwing a rock at the ocean.
Oh no, you're not going to break the wave even with a pebble.
Yeah. And so it's like, it's better to like let the wave crash over you, and then the ocean will go back and you'll be like, fine, you'll still be standing on the beach.
Yep.
Sometimes though, someone else needs to tell you that.
Oh yeah. And I definitely needed it, especially early on. Like, I'm very happy with where I am right now. I definitely know that there's room for improvement in a couple different fronts, but that's the everyday. But I'm very happy to be where I am. I'm very grateful to be where I am. I'm very humbled to be where I am, as I said previously. But I'm excited to see where the rest of it takes me.
Yeah, man. And like, I will say this one last thing, is that early on, when I started getting big into the Magic scene, I would get into fights with people all the time and just start popping off. And Olivia and Tappy would like send me a DM and be like, yo, or like a text message saying like, turn off your phone. Get up off the computer.
Go touch
turn
grass.
off your phone. Yeah, stop. And I'm like, you know what, man? That saved me a lot.
Yeah.
I would not be, I would definitely be a far worse person if I didn't have friends who once in a while would just yell at me and be like, yo.
Honestly, agreed. If it wasn't for people like you, Hobbs, all my friends, May, there would be no Tron. There wouldn't be Ryan.
Okay, before we leave, Tron is bad.
Oh yeah, Tron sucks. Tron's bad. Tron, don't play Tron. I'm just kidding. Play Tron. I own every version of Tron right here in foil. I will play it until the wheels fall off. I was there and I lived through the 2019 Ancient Stirrings ban scare. Yeah. I'll live through it again. You remember that when people wanted to ban Ancient Stirrings? Why?
Yeah, it was so dumb. I love. Look, dude, all I want in life is big mana.
Yeah.
Is that too much to ask?
Nope.
Is that too much to ask?
Nope. And I got you. There's a 7 on my face for a reason. Yep.
Oh God. Anyways, my dude, thank you so much for joining me today. I loved this conversation, and I think you're a great person, and I wish you all the best.
Likewise, I appreciate you for having me. I wanted to be on Casual Magic for a while now, and I really hope that we get to play some Casual Magic soon.
Yeah, man, I'm glad that we made it work. If folks wanted to find you, where do they go?
You can find me on all social medias at TronIsBad. That is on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, or X, or whatever you want to call it. It's still Twitter.
Nobody doesn't call it Twitter.
Nobody doesn't call it Twitter, but TronIsBad on all social medias, and I appreciate you for following, and thank you again for having me. And if you have a story to share, put a BetterDaysMTG at the end of it, and I read all of them. Hobbs reads all of them. We read everything that people post.
We do our best to help this community find itself again and live the healthiest life it can with this game. Because, like, you got to, man. Like, if this game is awesome, but once it becomes all consuming, like all things that become all consuming, it can become a problem. Yeah. So, and if you have a problem, don't hesitate to reach out. I am happy to hear you out. I'm happy to help you, or at least get you the resources that you need. We can get you out of whatever trouble you're in.
Absolutely.
Like, you're not alone, is what I'm trying
100%,
to say.
100%.
Yeah. And my DMs are always open.
Likewise.
But with that, if you want to find my DMs, you can find me on Twitter at Gear40Gears. And you can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are sold, or at YouTube every Tuesday, thanks to my editor, Dan. And you can find me on Shivam Wheeler Love Magic. And you can find me on the Chronicles of Dragonlance. And you can find me anyway. I'm very easy to find. I am very, very easy to find. But with that, my friends, remember, it's not magic without the gathering. And we'll see you next time.